While it's known that the original Ninja Turtles comics was dark and gritty, it all started when the co-creators got into agreement with Hong Kongese toy company Playmates that required the franchise to get watered down. While the original dark and gritty run was still going on, the cartoon and the toys were created, along with many mainstays of the franchise, such as the Turtles being pizzaphiles, the Turtles having surfer voices, and finally, Cowabunga, dude! I'm actually fine with some of these changes, especially since the toys gave them their iconic different colored mask. Because in the colored version of the original comic, all their masks were red. It was only their weapons that could help us set them apart. Heck, the kids' cartoon even gave us Bebop and Rocksteady. With that said, a film was in development. While the movie had its cheesy moments, it was still able to have its serious moments. Think The Dark Knight meets Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. And once you figure that these comic characters got a film before the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, Green Lantern, and dare I say it, Spider-Man, the Gen Alpha viewers 10 years from now are gonna be confused as well. The first comic not only shows us the origin of how the Turtles became the freaks of nature that they are, and how Splinter became their master and their father we all know today, which is impossible because the fertility labs would probably be throwing their clipboards and quitting their jobs. But there's also a separate origin story for Splinter. He was the pet of a ninjutsu master named Yoshi. No, not that Yoshi. Basically, Splinter got too curious of Yoshi's ninjutsu moves, so he copied him, and that's how he knows ninjutsu. He was rivals with another Asian named Oroku Naki. They were both basically fighting for the love of a woman named Tang Shane. You know, Splinter's origin took place in Detroit, it'd be so real it hurt, but since it's Japan, I wouldn't be surprised if she's 12! Anyway, Oroku gives Tang Shen a Tsuma Onaguru, leading Yoshi to kill him. However, once Oroku's little brother finds out, Yoshi dies in the hands of Oroku's little brother. And then, Oroku Naki's little brother grew up to become the one, the only, the Shredder. But, uh-oh, he's back, and he's in New York. And he's blueprinting 9/11! So the Turtles' first assignment is to stop him and his homies, the Foot Clan. Spoiler, he dies. With that ping-pong champion in his blood dripping out. First, he goes to the Disney School of Surviving getting stabbed, he activates a grenade, he's pushed off a building, and he blows the fuck up in the first issue. You know, given the reputation this character got for the franchise, I would have expected him to be in more comics, especially in this era. And it would have made sense if they didn't kill him off, because he's actually a well-developed villain. Now on to the violence. Why do we water this down for little kids again? I can't tell if that's blood or spit, but it's probably blood because it's dark. An entire gang got sliced and diced up by a bunch of turtles. Okay, I'm loving this. Look at the eyes! Look at the eyes down there! Then we get to the second issue, where we're first introduced to April O'Neil and Baxter Stockman. Before being a news anchor, April O'Neil was the former personal assistant of Black Tony Stark. Actually, the more I read these old Ninja Turtles comics, I don't think she ever was a news anchor. Baxter creates Mousers to help with the city's rat problem. I mean, you might as well create elephant-sized versions of them to help with the homeless problem. They're basically Cyclops puppy dog looking things, so they're all retarded. We even see one of these things just chomp! Chomp! So now you know that Splinter is in danger. But just like his father Winston Mosley, his son O.J. Simpson, and his grandson Juicy Smollett, Baxter Stockman is a trickster! Speaking of which, I've seen a lot of people argue that April O'Neil was originally intended to be black, but this is her first appearance right here, and look at them both side by side. She's clearly lighter, and he's clearly darker. Alright, I'm surprised I can even see him in this frame. Dumb fucks. After that, Splinter goes missing. Gee, I wonder if they think he's dead or not. And is then held hostage by Krang's N-words. And if this sounds familiar, that's because this arc is what the first ever movie was adapting. I don't have much to say about issue 3. All I could say is, it's apparently the longest car chase in comic history. I'll admit, it makes me want to drive on the Silver Bridge just to get some action out of me. Now let's go on to issue 4, which is the comic I'm most excited to talk about today, because it introduced my favorite character in this entire franchise, Casey Jones. I should probably mention real quick that I haven't gotten into Ninja Turtles until recently as a now adult man, but I will say, I do remember seeing the 2014 film in theaters and loving it, and a handful of episodes from the 2012 cartoon, and Raphael was always my favorite character. Mostly because, well, he's an angry rebel. Think of him and Leo's dynamic as Wolverine and Cyclops. Anyway, I mentioned all that useless information is because Raph is the main character in issue 4. Casey Jones is a dirty-ass man who thinks that the justice system is broken, and then he becomes Sportsmaster from DC Comics. And because he doesn't think the Popos do their jobs correctly, he doesn't spare the bad guys, he downright kills them. So Raph and Casey get into a long-ass chase fight, until... Anyways, a lady cries like a lady, and so they both team up in the most badass art possible in order to save her. Now let's get into some other stuff I liked. I bought the black and white print because I thought it was pretty unique, and since everyone knows that the Ninja Turtles used to be dark and gritty, this is a perfect way to illustrate that tone, whether if it's intentional or not. Eastman and Laird also did really well with the fight choreography. There are even frames where there's no talking at all, which that's not really a thing a lot in Marvel or DC. Marvel and DC usually do what move they're gonna do next, or what move failed. In Ninja Turtles' case, they're more focused on the wee-yaw side of fighting, while just showing off fight scenes. It's like they're storyboarding for a live-action martial arts movie. And given the gore, I also appreciate how Eastman and Laird completely take full advantage of a stupid concept. Heck, they're able to tell a serious backstory with Splinter while also having turtles named after a Renaissance artist. It feels like they're giving the middle finger to people who say superheroes are stupid in the first place. You think Spider-Man is stupid because he swings webs and he's called Spider-Man? Well, guess what? He teaches morals to not only kids, but also everyday people as well. Think Batman is stupid because he has a bunch of bat-shaped items and he's called Batman? Well, guess what? He has a tragic backstory and some pretty dark, depressing source material. And sometimes, I wonder what the franchise would have been like if it was not watered down just to sell toys. It probably would have been on the same level of popularity as Spawn is today, but it would definitely not be the empire like Transformers or My Little Pony it is today. While I prefer the gory times, there was some good the watered down version gave us. Mostly Cowabunga. Mostly Bebop and Rocksteady. But I know for a fact that the franchise would have been a lot different. A lot different if that weren't the case. Well, that's the end of the video. Tune in to my next Ninja Turtles review where we cover the Triceratons. But you're gonna have to wait a little while because I want to do other videos.